Welcome to our podcast on If Historical Figures Had Social Media. You'll find all instructions on my blog. Your first step is by Friday, April 10th at noon to select any figure from U.S. women's history from the time period we are studying. I suggest you use your book or one of the documentaries we have watched, and then you need to get the subject approved by me before you start. The instructions here are set up for Moodle, but for the online course, we'll be doing all of this in our closed Facebook group. The next step is to find 3 historical sources, only one of which may be an encyclopedia, only one of which may be a reputable website, and one of which should be primary source based. You will be writing an annotated bibliography, which you will submit to me by April 13th. The biggest decision you have to make is how you will be a historical figure on social media. I've come up with as many ideas as I can. You can also pitch me one. I've also tried to do as many samples as I possibly could, which I'm going to try to run through for you right now. The longest running experiment we've done is tweeting as a historical subject. If you click on the link, you get all the instructions on how to do this, as well as lots and lots of examples of how my students have done this before. Basically, you pick one of 3 options. 1, you tweet as the historical subject on an important event from that person's life. 2, you tweet in real time a series of events from that person's life, such as the week we are doing in class, which starts April 20th. That only works well if you have a diary or a lot of letters. Or 3, and this is the hardest one, you tweet as the historical figure on contemporary events. That means that you need to be able to capture the person's voice very well, which means, again, you're going to need a lot of their writings to work from. Some of my students have not found that to be something they wanted to do, so I adapted an assignment called a Twitter essay, which I then storified here to explain to you. Your first tweet lays out the topic of the essay, your next the thesis, third the sources you're going to use, then subsequent points and evidence. You'll notice I have pictures, citations, whenever I could get them in the tweet. If there's not enough room, though, you put the citations in the Storify documentation, which is the interface I'm in right here. Other options are to create an Instagram for the person. This works well if there's something image-driven about the subject you want to explore. So, for example, I did an Instagram about Emily Dickinson, which hopefully is going to connect. Oh, dear, what's up with that? Here we go. All right, don't know why that wasn't working, but here we go. Because Emily Dickinson's image is a fundamental part of her historical legacy. So this is a Storify, which is what we're using for documentation, that goes through various images of Emily Dickinson with my explication, just like we've explicated the historical images in class in the textbook. Another option is to do something in Tumblr that focuses on primary source documents. This works well if you have a digitized archive. So, for example, I created a Civil War Tumblr for Emily Dickinson using the Emily Dickinson archives. I've annotated these here with the transcriptions. And then I would create a Storify that documents, you can see my theme here is War Feels to Me an Oblique Place. I wanted to try to explore this idea that Emily Dickinson, this person we think of as reclusive, actually had a lot to say about the events that were going on in her life. That's the same theme that I did in the Twitter essay. Finally, I figured out we could do a Snapchat story. That's hard to capture, though. I ended up saving them and throwing them into Google Plus, which apparently just crashed, so not sure about showing you. Yeah, whoa, okay. So it looks like my documentation for Snapchat story is crashing. We're going to have to figure out what to do with that. You can actually download the images. The question is then how we save them. I also have a Pinterest assignment that loops with Wikipedia. If you're interested in this, we can do some variation of it or an adaptation of it. The most important thing is that for all of these, you meet the grading criteria, which is that you are historically accurate and informative, and that you cite the sources that you use in your final documentation of your project, that you match the social media to the message that you want to convey. You're going to be either telling a story or teaching or in some way, shape, or form trying to do something to get people to pay attention to the historical figure you've selected. You'll get more points if you capture the historical voice of your subject and the zeitgeist, the spirit of the time that's going on during their life. And of course, you have to adhere to all the deadlines, which are in red on this page. The most important thing to note is that we'll actually be doing this the week of April 20th through the 24th, after I've had a chance to review your drafts, and your documentation will be due on the last day of the semester. I'll be looking forward to your posts in Facebook or in Moodle, depending on which version of Women's History you're in, and giving you feedback. Again, if there are any questions, let me know.